It is 42 stories tall. It offers up to 20,000 people a day an unrivaled view of 3 different countries: Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. It is the Singapore Flyer, the biggest skywheel in the world and the pinnacle of structural engineering. The Flyer owes its success to more than 100 years of engineering breakthroughs. At the core of each lies an outstanding technical innovation that allows engineers to reach further and further into the skies. One by one, traveling up the scale, we'll reveal the incredible stories behind these astounding feats of engineering and the inventions that allow them to grow ever taller. 5 ingenious leaps forward, from big to bigger, into the world's biggest. Dawn in Singapore. This small island city is one of the world's powerhouses for international commerce. But the Singapore Flyer towers over office blocks in the nearby business district. And it's not just the size that impresses the locals.
The wheel has become associated with good fortune. In fact, they read into the 28 capsules that it's 2 times 8, it's double fortune.
From the top, tourists and locals alike look down from the heavens on a toy city where people are mere dots. This is no fairground ride. It's a whole new way to see the world. To understand how the Singapore Flyer can be this tall, we must travel back in time. At the close of the 19th century, a young engineer has a vision: to build something the world has never seen before. To do this, he will need to completely reinvent the wheel. Chicago in the American Midwest. In the heart of this teeming modern metropolis sits a memento of days gone by. A replica of an engineering wonder that put Chicago on the map over 100 years ago. In 1893, Chicago hosts the prestigious World's Fair. American architects build a huge fake city with ornate neoclassical buildings made from wood and plaster. But the fair is also supposed to be a celebration of American ingenuity. It needs a centerpiece, an engineering marvel to show the world that America is a true industrial power. Organizers reject several designs, pale imitations of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. They challenge engineers to come up with something truly novel. At the time, George Washington Gale Ferris Jr. is a successful engineer based in Pennsylvania.
Ferris was a young fellow, tenacious and visionary. He would accept almost any dare or almost any challenge. That was his nature.
Ferris is known for building record-breaking bridges. But for the World's Fair, he dreams up something utterly unique. An 80-meter tall revolving wheel that would lift passengers high into the air. He would make it out of a brand new building material, steel. It's a hugely ambitious design.
Well, first of all, everybody thought he was nuts because they didn't think a wheel could be built that big. People thought he was out of his mind. They actually called him the man with wheels in his head.
People have good reason to doubt Ferris. Steel wheels aren't a new idea. They're already used on vehicles like trains. But in these wheels, the steel spokes have to be thick and strong so they don't buckle. This makes them heavy. If Ferris builds his wheel in the same way, its sheer weight will overload the axle. He must find a way to build a lighter wheel. The answer lies in a new form of transport, the bicycle. The bicycle has a lightweight wheel with spokes made from stretched steel wires. It's called a tension wheel. Ferris designs a huge bicycle wheel. A lattice of steel girders forms the rim. Steel spokes, just 6 centimeters thick, tie the rim to the hub. By using such thin spokes, Ferris can make his tension wheel much lighter than a traditional wheel. Ferris has cracked the weight problem on paper. Now he must find a way to actually construct his huge steel wheel. As Ferris builds the bottom half of the wheel, it will happily hang by the spokes. But as he reaches the top half, its weight will buckle the thin spokes below. Before the wheel is a complete circle, it is in danger of collapse. To support the upper half of the wheel during construction, Ferris builds a giant frame of scaffolding. Workers use this to insert support struts between the axle and the rim. These temporarily take the load while the rim is being built. Once the wheel is complete, Ferris removes the struts and scaffolding, and the wheel supports itself. When it opens in 1893, the Ferris wheel is the star of the Chicago World's Fair. People come from far and wide to ride the wheel. Its modern replica still attracts crowds today.
You just slowly, smoothly went into the air. If you look down, it was like the ground was lowering away from you.
In 1893, an age before aeroplanes, this is the first time the general public have a chance to see the world from above.
It was spectacular. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Those who had the opportunity to go were quite pleased that they spent 50 cents to take that ride.
In 10 months, over 1.5 million people ride the wheel. It's 11 a.m. in Singapore. In the clear morning air, passengers on the flyer can see far across the city and beyond. From a distance, the wheel looks like an unsupported circle in the sky. the lightweight rim hangs from 112 steel spokes, each just 8 centimeters thick. As with Ferris's original wheel, these thin spokes can only support the rim once the wheel has been pieced together. This poses a problem for Pat Dallard, the Flyer's lead designer, when it comes to actually building the wheel.
The wheel itself is a tension wheel, so the spokes that we see here, they're in tension, and it's like a piece of string. It's fine when you pull them, they remain stiff, but if you try and compress them, they just collapse on themselves. So we had to work out some way of holding the rim in place as we constructed it piece by piece.
Designers could surround the structure with scaffolding, just as Ferris did, but that would involve engineers working on temporary platforms 165 meters above the ground in a coastal area known for strong winds.
It's actually quite expensive to use scaffolding, and it's also quite dangerous. The way we erected the wheel involved most of the work being done at ground level.
First, engineers hang a strong temporary support strut from the axle. To this, they attach the first section of the rim and wire spokes. Powerful hydraulic jacks push this completed section of the wheel round. Then engineers attach the next section of rim and fix a second support strut into position. This process is repeated, and section by section, the wheel grows. Using this method, the entire wheel is built slice by slice without the need for any scaffolding. Once the wheel is complete, engineers remove the temporary struts and the wheel supports itself. By constructing such a huge wheel, engineers give passengers a new view of the world. But building a bigger wheel than anyone else also invites the world to take a fresh look at Singapore. Today, the Sky Wheel is a symbol of economic power and success, just as when Ferris built his wheel more than 100 years ago.